Hello, dear students. Welcome back to our news channel. Students, today we are talking about a tricky situation that India is in. It's all about friendships, balancing relationships, and making decisions when friends don't get along. Okay, so we'll talk about big topics in simple words just for you kids. All right, now, students, imagine you have two good friends and who are arguing, and each one wants you to take their side. So it's a bit like that for India right now, with two big countries, the United States and Russia. And let's find out what's actually happening and why India has some tough choices to make. So here's the story. India has a long standing relation with Russia. Okay? India is good friends with Russia. And this friendship is very old. It's been there for many years, even before many of us were born. And when we talk about these two countries, India and Russia, they have helped each other in many, many ways, especially in terms of defense. ओके डिफेंस से जब हम बात करते हैं, डिफेंस की जुड़ी चीज़ों के बात में बात करते हैं, तो इंडिया और रशिया ने एक दूसरे की बहुत ज़्यादा हेल्प करी है. एंड रशिया हैज़ प्रोवाइडेड इंडिया with lots of equipments and tools to help keep our country safe. But now India also has a newer and growing friendship with another big country, the United States, or simply the US. So India and the US are working together in many areas. Let's जैसे science हो गया, technology हो गया, or even space. So, US and India both want to be strong partners in keeping each other safe and in helping each other grow. But here's where things get a little bit tricky. Recently, United States and Russia have not been getting along, right? And you may have heard about the war in Ukraine, which is an ongoing war with Russia. So Russia and Ukraine have been in conflict for a while now, right? And this you are already aware of. And when we talk about the US stance, see, US doesn't agree with Russia's actions there. And to show its disagreements, the US has placed sanctions. Yes, US has played बेसिकली यूएस ने बहुत सारे सैंक्शंस रशिया पर करा दिए हैं. तो रशिया पर जैसे सैंक्शंस लगे हैं, यूएस ने और भी कई ऐसे कंट्रीज है, यूएस ने जिस कंट्रीज पर सैंक्शंस लगाए हैं. तो सैंक्शंस होता क्या है? बेसिकली स्टूडेंट्स, सैंक्शंस आर लाइक punishment for a country. It means the US won't do business with some Russian companies and will try to stop other countries from helping Russia in certain ways. Now, what does this have to do with India? Well, recently, US, United States, added 19 companies to a list of sanctioned or restricted companies. सो ये कौन सी कंपनीज थी? इंडियन एंटिटीज. इंडियन कंपनीज को यूएस ने सैंक्शन लिस्ट में डाल दिया है. वाई? फॉर प्रोवाइडिंग डुअल यूज टेक्नोलॉजीज टू रशिया. नाउ दिस इज क्वाइट कंसर्निंग फॉर इंडिया, राइट? सो these Indian companies were working with Russia and providing them with dual use technologies. यहाँ पे एक और वर्ड मेंशन है, dual use. What is dual use? Dual use meaning that the technology can be used for both regular things, yes, regular things, and for military. Yes. तो हुआ क्या है? यूएस ने इंडिया की 19 एंटिटीज को सैंक्शन लिस्ट में डाल दिया है. क्यों? क्योंकि यूएस ये कह रहा है कि इंडिया ने जो ये कंपनीज है, इंडिया की जो ये 19 कंपनीज हैं, वो रशिया को डुअल यूज टेक्नोलॉजी प्रोवाइड करा रही थी। डुअल यूज का मतलब क्या होता है? जैसे ड्रोन्स, राइट? ड्रोन्स का अगर हम एग्जांपल लें, so drones can be used, it's a dual use technology. It can be used for regular stuff, जैसे चेकिंग वगैरह हो गया। जैसा आपने देखा होगा कि मैरिज फंक्शंस में भी ड्रोन्स यूज़ होते हैं, कैप फोटोग्राफी के लिए यूज़ होते हैं। मल्टीपल रेगुलर सिविलियन यूज़ भी होता है। बट ड्रोन्स का एक मिलिट्री यूज़ भी होता है। मिलिट्री यूज़ कौन सा हो गया? जैसे सर्विलांस के लिए, राइट, यूएवीज। सो इंडियन एंटिटीज पर यूएस ने सैंक्शन लगाया है ये कह के कि रशिया को ये डुअल यूज टेक्नोलॉजी प्रोवाइड करा रहे थे। ऑल राइट, सो इमेजिन दिस, इंडिया नाउ हैज टू डिसाइड how to respond to these UN sanctions on Indian companies. But students, it's not as simple as picking one friend over the other, right? India doesn't want to upset the US, especially since both countries are building a strong partnership in areas like defense, energy, and technology, right? And India also doesn't want to suddenly break its friendship with Russia. So India is in a tricky position. How can it keep both friendships without causing any hurt feelings? Right? So let's think about this carefully. First, students, first it's important to understand why India values its relationship with Russia. Right? See, students, for a long time, Russia has been a key defense partner. ओके, अगर हम बात करते हैं रशिया और इंडिया के रिलेशन की, तो इंडिया और रशिया काफ़ी टाइम से डिफेंस पार्टनर रहे हैं, राइट? रशिया ने इंडिया को बहुत सारे इंपॉर्टेंट इक्विपमेंट्स प्रोवाइड कराए हैं that mainly helps protect the country, like military equipment and technology. So it's like Russia has been a steady friend who has supported India during tough times. But on the other hand, the US is also very important for India. India and the US have been working together more and more, especially on things like new technology, clean energy, and even space exploration. So, India and the US have been talking about ways to improve supply chains. Supply chain को improve करने के बारे में भी बात कर रहे हैं। आप जिस आर्टिकल को पढ़ोगे तो आपको और पता चलेगा। सप्लाई चेन का मतलब क्या है? इट मीन्स मेकिंग श्योर वी हैव व्हाट वी नीड टू क्रिएट products and keep our industry strong. So losing this connection with the US could mean missing out on some really important opportunities for India's future. Now here's where it gets interesting. India didn't react immediately to the sanctions. See, this thing we can learn, okay, and we can apply this in a day-to-day life. Instead of just reacting suddenly, immediately, we should always take a time to respond, right? So India didn't react immediately to the sanctions, and this also we need to do in our daily lives. And you will see how it is going to change our behavior and even the person we are dealing with. So what India did, basically Indian government decided to stay quiet and didn't make a big public statement. This silence is a way of saying we are thinking about it carefully. And sometimes not saying anything right away is a wise move because it gives time to consider all options. And this is especially true in diplomacy, where countries have to carefully plan each step. So when you will become a diplomat, you're not going to just respond it immediately. You'll take time to think about it carefully. So what might India do next? Well, students, India has a few options, right? First one is India could decide to follow the US guidance and reduce its connection with Russia. But this would mean India might stop some of its trades or projects with Russian companies. But this situation, this whole thing could make things difficult, especially for India's defense needs, which rely a lot on Russian technology. क्योंकि इंडिया बहुत ज़्यादा rely करता है रशियन टेक्नोलॉजी पे. ऑप्शन टू, कंटिन्यू एज यूजुअल विद रशिया. क्या कर सकता है? पहले तो देखो, पहला ऑप्शन हमने क्या हमने ऑप्शन क्या डिस्कस किया, इंडिया क्या कर सकता है रशिया के साथ? रिड्यूस, इंडिया कुड रिड्यूस द you know connection, basically its connections with Russia. Second, continue as usual. Continue. Ab students, if India chose to keep its current relationship with Russia as it is and not worry too much about the US sanctions, right? This India can do. But there's a risk. This could risk upsetting the US, which has become an important partner for India in many years. And since the US is a powerful country, it could lead to a challenges for India's global goals, right? Third option is find a middle path. Middle path. Yes. India might try to balance both relationships without fully committing to one side. Right? दोनों को balance करके चलना है. Right? And this could mean India will continue its work with Russia, but be careful to avoid actions that would really upset the US. And India has done this balancing act before, many times. And it's something many countries do when they have friendships on both sides of a disagreement. Right? तो इंडिया ये पहले से करता आ रहा है, ऐसा नहीं है कि पहली बार इंडिया कुछ ऐसा करने जा रहा है. Now, students, you might be wondering, is it possible to keep both of your friends happy? When, especially in the situation when two of your friends are arguing. Well, it's not always easy, but India has always tried to stay neutral. If we look at the history of India, the side it has India has never taken any side, even in the conflicts, any conflicts. जैसे रशिया और यूक्रेन का कॉन्फ्लिक्ट हो गया, इंडिया हैज नेवर टेकन एनी साइड. इंडिया ने कहा, क्या कहा? वी आर कंडेमनिंग द वायलेंस. फलस्तीन इसराइल के टाइम पे भी इंडिया ने किसी कंट्री का एक एक साइड नहीं ली है. इंडिया हैज ऑलवेज ट्राई टू स्टे न्यूट्रल, मीनिंग it doesn't want to pick one side over other. And this, students, this approach is very, very, very important. It's called, yes, it's called strategic autonomy. Strategic autonomy. Okay, this key phrase is very important for you to remember, because this is core part of India's foreign policy. Okay, strategic autonomy. A big phrase. This is a big phrase, right? For kids like you, it's a big phrase. But it means that India wants to make its own decision without too much outside influence. And by staying quiet, India is showing that it values both friendships and it doesn't want to rush into any decision that could hurt one side. Right? So strategic autonomy का मतलब क्या होता है कि इंडिया किसी और पे बाहरी इन्फ्लुएंस पर डिपेंडेंट नहीं है. और इंडिया अगर अभी क्वाइट है, साइलेंट है, तो इसका मतलब ये है कि इंडिया डजंट वांट टू रश इनटू एनी डिसीजन. And recently, India's national security advisor, yes, who is national security advisor? Ajit Doval. He had a phone call with the US national security advisor Jake Sullivan. All right. So they discussed many things, including ways to work together more closely in areas like energy, technology, and defense. But they didn't talk directly about the sanctions. This shows that both India and the US are interested in working together on other important issues, even though they may have some disagreements. Right? So, what's the big lesson here? Yes, that sometimes countries have to make tough choices just like we do in our own friendships. They have to think about what's best for them while trying to keep their friends happy. And India is trying to do this by carefully considering its options and not rushing to make a decision that could affect its relationships. And remember, just like in our friendships, sometimes not taking sides right away can give everyone time to calm down and find a solution that's going to work for everyone. Right? So, India's silence shows that it's thinking carefully about what to do and that it wants to keep its friendships with both Russia and the US. Right? So, students, that's all for today's episode. I hope you learned something new about how countries make decisions and balance their friendships, just like you might have to find ways to keep peace between friends. So, countries like ours do the same thing, but on a much bigger scale. All right. So, thanks for tuning in. And remember, the world is full of interesting stories, and every country has its own way of making choice. Until next time, keep exploring and keep asking questions.